Hi, today we'll be talking about mixed media animation and storytelling. So, what is mixed media animation? Mixed media animation is unique and it's a fantastic blend of various styles and techniques of animations, for example, 2D, 3D, silhouette, etc., to help in conveying a narrative and in storytelling. The main points that we focus on in this presentation are that in a genre that relies on its medium to portray the story, there is much to uncover as to the connection between film story and its chosen medium and how merging multiple animations aid in that narrative. Mixed media animations have the ability to convey through its similar and contrasting visuals and enhance the narrative. And the films that we are going to cover in this presentation are The Little Prince, Space Jam, Loving Vincent, and our hypothetical film which is called Azaka, showcasing the diversity and value of mixed media and its various aspects and how it strengthens the storytelling in animation.
Loving Vincent is an animated film that originated from a 7-minute short film in 2008 by Dorota Kobila, who is also the director of the main film. The team consisted of 125 artists painting each individual frame in the style of Van Gogh's Impressionism. This resulted in 65,000 oil paintings. It's a biographical film that centers around Vincent van Gogh and the circumstances of his death. This brings into question whether Loving Vincent can be considered mixed media in the first place. This is because the film itself is solely animated, just done through paintings. Which brings in another question. What is defined as mixed media? Media and its development has become intertwined, so pre-existing media is already defined as intermedial. For example, the combination of visuals with audio. Because of this, Jorgen Brunn coined the term heteromediality, where all media are mixed media, and that the particular mixing of media has its roots in wider contexts, ideological, historical, aesthetic, and so on. This term, heteromediality, describes Loving Vincent aptly, while also assuring its mixed media film status, because the film was produced via live action, with actors dressed and sets created for filming. The actor would perform the scenes, and then the painters would select a keyframe to paint, having it approved, and then animating the rest of the scene. In essence, the film was rotoscoped, but the animation went beyond the simple tracing of the scene, as it required the colors, the animation of each stroke to be considered as well, because each individual brushstroke was so prevalent in Van Gogh's work. So, along with the live action and rotoscoping incorporations, the brushstrokes had to also be stop motion animated in order for the intended vision of this film to be achieved. And the reason why achieving it is so important was because both his work, talent, and struggle is world renowned, and what better way to celebrate his life than to give his style the acknowledgement that he didn't receive until after his death? Undoubtedly, Loving Vincent is both a mixed media animated film and one that is deserving of its place in our selection.
Space Jam 1996 is a movie that mixed 2D animation and live action. So during this movie, the 2D animation have a significant uh, point for the movie's storytelling and personality of the characters. And I will give you 4 points to explain why the animation and the mixed media is important for the movie. So the first point is characterization. During the animation juxtaposes cartoon characters with real-life characters, and through the combination, the films tell a story where fiction and reality intersect. For example, characters such as Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck are vividly presented to the audience through animated images. Their unique personalities and expressiveness enrich the characters' level of the films and make the story more vivid. The sixth point is the plot advancement. The cartoon characters in the animation play an important role in the story, and their action and conflicts are the key to the promoting the development of the entire story. For example, the basketball game between the monster team in the animation and the real basketball stars is the most exciting part of the whole movie, and the climax of the plot. This game demonstrated the importance of the cooperation and hard work. So the second point is the humor elements. The exaggerated expressions and movement of animated characters add many humorous elements to the movies. This kind of humor is difficult to achieve in pure live-action movies. These humor senses make the story more light-hearted and appeal to a wider audience, including the children. And the last point is emotional connection. Cartoon's characters chase childhood memory of the viewers. The emotional resonance deepens the audience investment in the movie and makes the emotional experience of the movie richer. Also, there's a new version for the Space Jam in the 2021, and the technique of the new version is totally updated. The new version uses the latest CGI technology, which makes the animated characters more seamlessly in target with the real world. It bring a more realistic visual experience to the audience. Also, during this movie, there is two worlds: visual world and real world. And the James song in the visual world has a different personality from the real world. It's also kind of like some concept makes the media to help the storytelling of the whole movie.
The film that I chose to present is Mark Osborne's The Little Prince. It's a story about a little girl who is being prepared by her mother for every grown-up thing in the world that she lives in, but is interrupted by an aviator who tells her tales of a little prince he met when he was deserted in Sahara. He tells her about a new world, introduces her to new opportunities, and saying that anything is possible. Thus begins her journey to find herself and rediscover her childhood and her happiness. The film uses CGI animation and stop motion to convey its narrative. The use of hybrid media is to differentiate reality from a fantastical world. So the real world is shown using CG animation. The artists play with lighting and color. The real world appears lifeless, monotonous. The saturation is subtle, muted, lots of sharp angles, perfect houses, precise blades of grass. Everyone is striving to be perfect, and the protagonist and her mother are part of this race. So she doesn't get a lot of time to be herself and enjoy her childhood. And then comes the aviator, and his house is abundance of color. His home is inspired by the work of Hayao Miyazaki. He introduces the girl to the story of a little prince through drawings on paper, similar to the way we were introduced to the story as text in a book. Osborne didn't want to merely adapt the popular novel, but he wanted to come up with a hybrid approach with stop motion and CG animation to delineate storybook fantasy from reality. The 2D drawings were a great way to introduce the audience into the world by showing the images from the book coming to life. As we delve into this new realm, the style switches to stop motion. Little Prince is a pure, gentle and naive character who lives on an asteroid. He has conversations with other characters about love, peace, friendship and loyalty. There is a change in the tone and the color palette. The narrative becomes slow and detailed, making the audience feel what the characters are feeling. Jason Booz, who is the CGI animation supervisor, says, "For the real world where we meet our main characters, CGI animation was the best way to convey the subtle emotions and complex acting. What we take away is this experience of what's best is to let the story drive the aesthetic." Stop motion technique shows the softness and intricacy of the characters from Little Prince's world. The slow movement of body, innocent eyes really contradict the rush swiftness and motion in CGI animation. The protagonist, the girl, helps save Little Prince from losing his innocence and finds her own childhood happiness within. One question that I came out during the research was, does mixed media animation break the wall between animated films and live video films? How and why? So mixed media animations have built a bridge between live action cinema and traditional animation, and established studios like Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, though they are controversial, but they have broken the boundaries of creativity and storytelling and exploring new styles and technology through stories like Wall-E, The Bug's Life, Toy Story, etc., and thus have brought this genre and this style of films into the mainstream cinema. And also, live action films are really just that anymore. 3D animation styles are used to produce realistic characters and objects that would be difficult to build using conventional filmmaking processes. And 3D VFX is used to generate visuals that cannot be recorded by standard photography.
Moving on, I would like to present the synopsis for our hypothetical film, Azarka. So our hypothetical film brings to life the merging of two lands, depicted through two methods of animation, which we chose to be silhouette and 3D animation. Azarka is a land of shadows and darkness where the people have started to rebel against the unjust hierarchical system that has been established between their world and another. Ark, who is the protagonist and son of the leader of Azarka, discovers he no longer fits in with this world and decides to venture into the other world, which is a place of dimension and color. In this new place, he meets Bean, who is a rebel and dying for adventure. And Ark finally finds a sense of belonging in this world where they are all about acceptance. But they don't realize that this disappearance sets off an undeterminable battle.
These are the 5 storyboard slides that I made for our hypothetical film. In the first one, our character A finds a way to escape his silhouette world of Azarka into this 3D world. And then he meets Bean, a friendly character who introduces to concepts of his world that A was unaware about. They have a good bond. In the third panel, they share a hug. In the fourth one, A's family finds out about his escape, and they are kind of a hierarchical, conventional community. They are very strict and headstrong. And in the last panel, we see that both the characters are separated. So I wanted to show queer representation and a subtle gender fluidity in the characters, since it's not been done in mainstream cinema as of yet.
We were inspired by Lotte Reiniger's silhouette animation for this hypothetical film because she often had underlying messages in her animations that criticized the social and political settings of the 20th century. The decorative shapes brought a lot of emotion into the expressionless world of silhouette animation, and it allowed for a very mysterious and at some points solemn atmosphere. We thought this worked well for a world such as Azarka, which was a land of darkness and mischievous rebellion. And so in incorporating 3D elements into this film, we wanted to merge the past and the present, connecting what was the beginning of animation to the present technological advancements in the field. It contrasts the harsher and more simplistic two-dimensional style that was perceived as very crafty with the highly rendered three-dimensional world that is praised nowadays, such as Disney films like Wreck-It Ralph. We also wanted to incorporate modern themes of gender and social conformity, using the media as a tool to emphasize the emotional state of the characters faced with these issues. To conclude, mixed media is a form of animation that has the ability to convey depth through the contrasting elements of each technique. Through the works of The Little Prince, Space Jam, Loving Vincent, and subsequently through our creation of Azarka, we observe the way in which storytelling is enhanced by this genre. Each technique brings to the movie a strength, either through its emotional expression or the support of certain themes, and it all comes together in forming a